value women professionals. And I'm really excited to be running today's webinar, which is all about negotiations. Now, this webinar is part of the Expect More, Get More with Bina Kavalam webinar series. So if you found me for some reason and you said, ooh, I would love to get the rest of the webinars too, well, all you got to do is join my list. And how you do that is you go to Coach Bina or binakavalam.com and just sign up there where it says ask for success tips, and you'll get the invite to all of my webinars, and they're all free. So if you're ever interested, you can join and get some free content. Today we're going to be talking about negotiating. Today is in the United States. It's April 14th, and it's Equal Pay Day here in the United States. And for that occasion, I am running a free negotiation workshop. So we're going to start up. I have some slides that I'll go through, and we'll talk through some key elements of how to negotiate. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. So you're going to see my mug, and you'll see a little bit more about the Expect More, Get More with Bina Kavalam. And you'll see at the bottom, you'll see at the bottom here, it says poll. For the live workshop, I had some polls that were already embedded in it. So we're not going to go through the polls, so just disregard those for now. But I will be sharing some of the videos with you that I had shared at the live webinar. So here we go. So you deserve more. So ask for more. That's really the key of this. And so in that vein, I'm going to ask you for something. I'm not selling anything on this webinar, but I am asking that you share this information. Tell people, whether it be your colleagues at work, whether it be your best friend, share this information and share people and let people know that they can get the same kind of content from a career coach. I would really appreciate it. Now I'm going to share a little bit more about me in a moment, so you get a little bit more of an understanding of what my mindset is. But for me, my goal is to change 1 million lives by the year 2020. And so to do that, I need to meet and to help and to get, as part of my community, 1 million people. And I can only do that if folks like you take action and spread the word. So if you learn anything today, if you learned something of value today and you thought, this was really good, please share it. Please tell your best friend, tell your friends, tell your family, and have them first follow me on Twitter or Facebook at the hashtag at @personalrev, which is my handle there for both Facebook and for Twitter. And on Instagram, I am the career expert. So you can find me there as well. And I've got a lot of daily content that I give out in those areas as well. But please do tell people to go to binakavalam.com or to coachbina.com and sign up for free stuff. A lot of goodies that I have in my community. Okay, so we are today is Equal Pay Day, at least the day that I'm recording this is, and it's Equal Pay Day here in the United States. And what that is the day in 2015 that women need to work until to make the same amount as the average male colleague, as their average male colleague would in 2014. So that's 3.5 months more of work for the equal pay. So that's just something that I think and there's another poll here, but the idea is that we should all be paid equal work for equal pay for equal work. And so that's one of the reasons why negotiations are so important. So here's a video from BuzzFeed that I wanted to share with all of you. So I'm going to share the screen in a moment. I'm going to stop that screen share. Stop it. There we go. There we go. And I am going to, oops, I know I needed to go back to screen share. Sorry, my bad. I am gonna, how do I do that? Let's try this. Start the screen share. And now I need to go to that one. Here we go. This is not the right video. The BuzzFeed one is not in here. So let me just go to my YouTube channel so you can see it. And we can then get it. Here we go.
Thank you.
Wait, $1,273 after taxes.
Wait, you make $1,273?
Yeah, what do you make?
78% of that? But that's so weird because we have the same job. That's not fair. Unless.
Can you give this folder to Mark?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hey, can you give this folder to Mark?
Oh, Mark's right there.
I know. Thanks for doing all of the job that you're paid to do. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Allison, can you give me those reports we talked about?
Oh, yeah. I can get you roughly 4 out of 5 of the reports.
Why not all 5?
You tell me.
So, before we adjourn, does anyone have anything to add?
Oh, I've actually noticed that in the most recent research, the most important thing that we can do.
Allison, you didn't finish your sentence.
Oh, I know. I did most of it, though.
Allison, are you available for a conference call at 2?
Sure. How long do you think it'll take?
About an hour.
Great.
Okay, really need you on this one.
You got it.
As I was looking over the reports, I noticed that there's a
2:47. Time for a snack.
Allison, I feel like you're not giving this job 100%.
You're right. I'm giving it about 78%. Oh, and it's already 4:45, so I'm in overtime. Wouldn't want to cost you any extra money.
Okay, but I need you to come in this weekend.
That is a good one, Mike. I'll see ya.
Okay, so that was the BuzzFeed video I was talking about, and I wanted to, whoops, how do I get back to the screen? Here we go. And so I wanted to bring your attention to, stop. Okay, and now I'm going to screen share again, so apologize for the technical difficulties here, but you're going to get some great content out of this, so just keep going here. All right, so this is what the whole point of this video was, to really explain, you know, what would, is really tongue-in-cheek, but what would a woman do, right, if she was only doing 78% of the job? In this case, she'd probably get fired, and that's why it's tongue-in-cheek. But the idea is that if we're doing equal work, we're doing probably more than equal work if you're like most women and you really want to please other people. And so we do extra work. And these companies are getting away with murder in terms of our salaries. So the idea is to start earning your worth by commanding your worth. So we're going to move on to the next. And, you know, this is just another fact, equal pay day, and this says women only make 77 cents for every dollar earned by a man, and now it's about 78 cents. It's an older graphic. But the key thing is, why should you care? Well, that kind of disparity could cost women between $400,000 and $2 million over a lifetime in lost wages. Now, I don't know about you, but I could use $2 million. And, you know, with women living longer and with, you know, Social Security the way it is, $2 million in retirement, which would be much more than $2 million if you've invested right, can be can be a huge benefit or a huge loss if you don't have it in retirement and throughout your life. So this is why it's so critically important to start to ask for more. But who am I? My name is Bina Kavalam, and I'm the career and life strategist for high value women professionals. And I want to give you a little bit of my background so that you understand where I'm coming from on this. I started my career out after college at Accenture, which is an IT consultancy, and worked there and was able to work with some amazing people who I learned from, senior executives about not only business strategy, but I also learned about executive presence. I learned about body language and vocal intonation and all of the key elements that are necessary to communicate with mastery. I learned about leadership and what to do and sometimes what not to do. And I learned about how to treat people and the ones that really gained my respect. And so for that, I'm forever grateful for my time at Accenture. But after a few years there, I moved to, went to business school, and I worked at a company. I worked in business school. What I did was I switched careers to brand management, and then worked at a few brands. Hopefully, I worked at Bayer Consumer Care on the Bayer, aspirin, and Flintstones vitamins brands. And then I moved out to Colorado to work at White Way Foods on International Delight iced coffee. But about a couple months after I moved out here, I was in an accident, and that accident changed my life forever. I remember I was lying in the hospital bed, and it was just had this big accident the next morning, and the nurse had told me how lucky I was. And I remember thinking to myself, what if this was the end? It was the first real point for me of mortality in my life that I've ever encountered. And I remember thinking, will people have remembered me? Will I have left a legacy? And at that time, my first thought was no. And that was truly heartbreaking. But then I got this glimmer of an idea. And it was like almost a whisper that came from my soul. It said, change 1 million lives by the year 2020. And even just saying it now, back then and even today, it still makes me smile. And so that became my mission, to change 1 million lives by the year 2020. And so once I started with this new mission, it's what, got me out of the hospital bed and got me moving forward and got me through recovery and got me to found Personal Revolution Coaching and go back for my coaching certification and get my coaching certification and start to be coaching people, more formally than I had been as an informal mentor throughout my years of working in corporate. And, one of my greatest joys is that I get that opportunity to help make an impact on people's careers, but also more importantly, their lives. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this webinar today, to kind of impart some of my knowledge and to make an impact. And so that's part of the reason why I asked you to spread the word, because I'm only going to make my million if you are alongside of me. And so I appreciate if you can spread the word. Please, please do. I truly want to help as many people as I can. So thank you in advance. But I want to share a story from when I had just started out at Accenture, and it was just my first job. Well, it wasn't technically my first job, but my first job in corporate. And I was a senior in college, and I had gotten a couple of different offers, and I was really excited about it. But I didn't know how to manage it all. And instead of negotiating, I just took the offer immediately. Didn't really think too much about it until about 6 weeks, or I think it was 6 weeks after I started at Accenture. And so they put you into a training group, and you are sent off to this place out near Chicago. It's a training facility, and you're there basically sent to learn how to code. And so we would be coding for 60 hours a week or more. It was just grueling, but also a lot of fun, because you became friends with, the people that you were in your cohort with. And you'd always go out after an hours or late at night, and then you would go out on the weekends. And I remember one night everybody was drinking, and of course I was nursing my one drink, because I don't like to get still remembered as professional, but I still had a drink or two, so I was a little fun, happy. And I remember a friend of mine who was it was late. It was like midnight or 2 a.m. And I remember he we were just two of us at the bar, and he was kind of at that point where you lose some of your inhibitions. And he just kind of told me, Bina, I can't believe we're working so hard for such, low amount. And then he said his salary. And I sobered up pretty quick because his salary was $10,000 more than my salary. And we were doing the exact same role. In fact, I think I was a little bit more better at coding than he was. And I remember this to this day. And I remember going back, I kind of politely excused myself because I was in no mood to drink at that point, or no mood to party at that point. I remember going back to the hotel, and I just remember thinking about that and thinking, did they not think I was worth it? Did they think that I just wasn't good enough? And all that kept going through my head. And then I realized I didn't ask. I mean, it was a while before I really got to that conclusion. I'm going to admit that. It was because I did a lot of soul searching, and I realized I just took what they gave me. I never asked for more. And that was a hard lesson to learn, because I want you to imagine two people, okay? One that's making X and one that's making X plus $10,000. Now, no matter how that person is, these two people, if they make the same amount, same percentage of increase in salary over their lifetime, right? Every time he gets a promotion, I get a promotion, and we make about the same amount, or he maybe negotiates more. Even if I start to negotiate now, I still won't make as much as he will. But I better start negotiating, because if I want to ever get to the point that I need to start learning from my mistakes, right? And that's why I'm telling the story. It's not the most pleasant story to tell, but I'm telling it because I want you guys to negotiate. There's power in negotiation. There's power to your brand in negotiation as well. You don't want to just leave it on the table. You don't want to leave money on the table, but you also don't want to leave your confidence, right? People respect. I mean, think about it. If people could see how much I was earning versus my counterpart, who would they want on their team, right? Somebody who was valued at X, or somebody who was valued at X plus $10,000. And that is what the point of it is. And so instead of just harping on it, you got to ask for more, because it's about much more than money. It's about your confidence. It's about the way you hold yourself. It's about the way people see you and your managers see you. It's about promotions. There's a lot more involved here. So please, please negotiate. So what do you need for negotiations? Well, I'm going to share with you my strategies for the 4 things that you need for your negotiation. One is you need to prepare, okay? And there's 2 things that you need to do, some assessments that you need to do. One is a self-assessment, which I'll be going through in a minute. The second is a market assessment, seeing about where you stand in the marketplace. Next, you also need to plan. And this is a big one, right? What is your success mindset, right? Are you ready? You need to have confidence and believe that what you do, what you bring is valuable to the marketplace. That's why that marketplace assessment is so important. But you also have to cut the mindset of somebody who can command that money and command that promotion and other things, right? So you got to have that success mindset. And that's something that we're going to talk about today as well. Negotiations. You gotta know how to negotiate. All right, and at least some of the basics we're going to be covering in this one-on-one call today. All right, so let's start off with self-assessment. Let me just take a quick drink. Okay, you got to understand your personal brand. Really understand why are you important, and why should they care? Really important to understand your personal brand. Now, if you are new to joining me or you don't know your personal brand, make sure you check out my free personal branding exercise, right? You have to sign up to be a part of my list, and it's sent out to everybody in my community. So if you still don't have it and you're part of my community, just send me an email at bina@binakavalum.com. And you can, or if you don't have my email, just go to coachbina.com and send me my emails at the bottom, and you can and you can just send me a quick email and say, hey, Bina, I'd love the personal branding exercise, and I'll send it to you. Know your strengths and weaknesses. Really important here. And this is so important. It's also important to know from a self-awareness perspective, right? You got to know what you're good at, and you got to know what you're not so good at. So for me, I'm great at the people part of it. And I wasn't so great at the numbers. And so I had to work on that. And so when I became such a good person at the numbers, like I could forecast and I figured out all the stuff from a brand perspective that, I became pretty good at forecasting. The problem is that that wasn't my thing, wasn't my forte, and I didn't love it. But I became really good at it. It became an asset. So I turned it around. And that comes to the second part of this, the third part, which is define the quantitative value of your contributions. Quantitative. Very, very important. If you look at your resume right now and you see nothing, you scan it and you see nothing but letters, okay? Don't read the words, but just look at it, just with a light eye, and you're just glancing over the words. If it's all letters and there's no numbers, dollar signs, percentages, any of those things that would trigger a change in your resume, a change then versus letters, that can kind of tell you if your resume is qualitative or quantitative. If it's qualitative, there's all just letters. If it's quantitative, you're going to see a lot of breakup or numbers, dollar signs, percentages. And you want a quantitative resume. So define your action step for this step is to define the quantitative value of your contributions. You're going to want to update your resume using the action results success formula. Now, if you haven't, you don't know what the action results success formula is, or you haven't heard me talk about it, go to my YouTube channel and look up Rock Your Resume. I think it was a Friday Fast 5 when I was doing that years ago. And it's let me just make sure I have it. Hold on a second. I'm going to go there and show you. Just 1 second so I can get it ready. Come on. Here we go. Pause it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you the quick video now, but I'm going to show you, actually, I'm going to put the link in here somewhere. What's the best way to do that? I'm going to put it on screen so you can get the YouTube video and you can get the link at the top. I'm going to put the name of it. The name of it is 5 Ways to Get Your Resume to the Top of the Yes Pile. So just Google that up. 5 ways to get your resume to the top of the yes pile. It'll be an image like this. Okay, so this is the video. It says 5 ways to get your resume to the top of the yes pile, and you'll see my mouth is not always going to be open, but yeah, that's going to be the resume one you want. I don't want to take time from this now, but just go to the YouTube channel and you'll get that, and you can see that. Just go to my YouTube channel and you'll see this. Google that up and you'll find that. Okay, so let's now go back. Oh boy, why is that not doing this? There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the action step. Okay, so once you figure out the action results success formula, watch the video. But in short, action results, you're always going to start every bullet point in your resume with an action verb, and then it's going to talk about the action that you took that led to a result and why that result was success. And so you're going to be talking about these. One example is when I was working at Accenture, and I was on a team of about 200 people, but our small interfaces team was only about 13 people. And there was the 200-person project was rife with turnover. People were leaving left and right. It was just a miserable time. I'm not going to lie. It was just pretty. People were leaving. It was just really, because we were working so many hours. And I remember deciding, hey, you know what? I don't want my team to leave. These 13 people, they mean a lot to me. I don't want them to leave. And so I created something called People First. And it was something as simple as bringing in food. And I normally don't recommend that women bring in food, but I had a strategic reason for this, so that was okay. I organized weekly lunches out for the entire team, and I was able to get a budget for that. At least every week, our entire team would go out. All 13 of us would go to a restaurant, whatever one would decide, and we all go out. The guys loved it, and it was just us bonding as a team. We did a lot of other fun stuff too, but the idea was that we became a team. We did like bowling outies, pizza nights, things like that, like movie nights. But we were melding as a team, and other teams didn't have that. And our team, and now this is where, so the actions I took was I created this people first initiative for our team. And I did all these, and I would come up with these like other detailed results as well, actions rather. The result of which was a 0 turnover for our team. Which had the highest retention rate of the entire 200-person team and the highest satisfaction rates from the post-HR survey. So that is powerful, right? Actions, the only difference between us and the rest of the team was actions that I took. And that led to a positive success. 0 turnover, high retention, happy people. Okay, there is a quantitative value to that. 0 turnover, right? People are not leaving, so you don't have to train them again. You don't have to so there's a lot of benefit to that. That's what I want you to tie your success to. Those are things that employers can look at and say, oh, okay, she's right. She did produce some things that she did led to a result. Okay, she deserves a promotion. And they're also more quantifiable. So you want to also do a market assessment. You want to understand your value in the marketplace. Now, this is important because what you want to do is you really want to make sure that you understand if you're going after a $10,000 pay increase, or let's just call it $20,000 pay increase, and everybody else in your marketplace is making 30, well, you got to know that, right? If it was making 30,000 more than you right now, you want to make sure so you're getting an accurate assessment of the right amount. Also, you want to know where you stand in the marketplace. You want to know your strengths and weaknesses in the marketplace. Okay, so if you're a brand manager and you need to know the numbers and financials inside and out, or if you are and you're an exceptional financial number whiz, but you kind of stink at the creative part. Well, by the time you're a brand manager, most people have those financial skills. So even though you're a whiz at financials, if you're not a whiz at now driving the, ad creative or getting things done and implementing, that's not an asset that they need at that point. So you got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are in the marketplace for that role. The next part is something that I'm going to share with you on the next slide, and that's conduct a football field analysis for salaries. Now, if you haven't heard of a football field analysis, this is something from back from the days of management consulting. So that's okay if you don't know it. But you want to gather information about the salary. Now, one thing I'm going to share with you, the next slide, is some actions that you can take, which is to go on to wetfeet.com, salaries.com, and Google up your role and see where you stand. See what people are earning. And that's a data point that you can use as one of these football field analysis. They will tell you, okay, so somebody in this industry, this area of the country with this salary should be making, say, 90K. And that's a bullet point that you would put into your football field analysis. You're also going to do something called informational interviewing. And if you don't know what informational interviewing, go back to my YouTube channel and look up informational interviewing. I think I did a video. It's called Informational Interviewing is the Green Juice of the Job Search. And it was a really great one because I went through all of the, I went through both personal branding as well as went through personal branding, networking, and informational interviewing all in this one master class. So if it's something that of interest for you, go to my YouTube channel. If you don't know where my YouTube channel is, go to coachbina.com. There's links are all at the bottom. Click on the YouTube channel and then just Google up informational interviewing is the green juice of the job search. And you'll see my face and then watch that video. And it also has a framework of how to take notes for your informational interviewing and how to conduct one as well. So you're going to be doing a whole bunch of informational interviews. And what informational interviews are, they're not formal interviews. They're informal, but you're meeting with somebody who works in that industry and you're asking them questions. The key thing is that you're not only asking them questions about, what's it like, what's the culture like of the company, what is it like, the role like, but you're also asking them, hey, Jake, I know you're a senior brand manager at XYZ company. I'm looking to become a junior associate brand manager or a different role, but slightly under, or an assistant brand manager. And I was wondering what the role salaries would be. And the salaries could be anything. And these numbers are just arbitrary here that I put up here. But, and the salaries could be somewhere between 90 to 100K. That's what Jake says. He's going to give you a range. They're never, ever, ever ask for their salary because they'll just laugh in your face before letting the door hit you on the way out. Okay, so don't ever do that. But instead, ask about what's the salary range that you could expect for someone in this role. That's a little bit less abrasive question. Then you're going to get all of the data points, and I recommend you put this into Excel. And then what you're going to do is you're gonna then make an analysis, right? So you've got all these things, you plot it against it, and then you kind of just figure out what the average is. And then that is the number that you go into your presentation, into your negotiation with, right? And this is the data point that you've done. You've got this research, and now you're gonna be able to use it to your advantage. It's also important, that's why it's so important to understand your value in the marketplace. So be sure today, excuse me, I had to get a drink of water. Be sure today that you understand your value in the marketplace and look up jobs on wetfeet.com, salaries.com, indeed.com. Don't wait on this. Do it right now. You could pause this video and do it right now while you're going through this. Do these action steps with me right now. Okay, you can do that. I give you free reign. But find out today. You want to know your value in the marketplace. Okay, next we have another video, and this one's a good one, so I'm gonna definitely go to it. So let's stop and whoops, here we go. And there's me with my big mouth open. Here we go. And it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, and it's right here we go. This is from Levo League, by the way. This is from Levo League, and it's a video that they are running for Equal Pay Day as well.
Throughout history, women have walked, marched, and stood up for their rights. And since the movement began, progress has been made and many battles have been won, while women have dreamed, worked, and asked. But we still have to ask for more.
One of the biggest mistakes that I made, and a mistake that I kept making until I really realized this, is I didn't ask for what I wanted. I got this offer from CNBC Asia. So I was just so happy that she wanted to hire me and give me my first break in television that I accepted the first salary offer. I accepted her first offer. She said, will X be good? And without hesitation, I said, great, fine. And I did that because I didn't want to jeopardize the offer. I was so scared that that offer could be rescinded or that something would happen and I wouldn't get that big break. It wasn't until 2 years later when I left CNBC and came to Bloomberg that I sat down for drinks with her. And she said, you know, one of the things, Betty, that has always stayed with me in the few years you've worked for me is that you never counteroffered. And she said, don't do that again, because I was ready to give you a higher salary. I just gave you what I wanted to start off with because I knew you would come back. She said, I thought you knew you would come back with a higher offer and would meet in the middle, but you didn't. Don't do that again. You need to ask for what you're worth.
When your employer offers you something and you don't go back and ask for more, in essence, you're almost telling them that you're pretty much worth their first offer. So you want your employer to think more highly of you, you want to think more highly of yourself. So the way I think about it is it's my responsibility to remind them of what a treasure they're getting by asking for more money. So if you think of it that way, then it's not that you're demanding, it's that you're reminding them what you're worth.
I'm one of those people, I always feel like, well, I'll be rewarded when, I deserve to be rewarded. But that said, I do think it's really important for women to know their worth and to really push yourself to always, and I'm terrible at this too, so I'm like the last person who should be saying this, but I'm really bad at playing politics. And it's not about playing politics necessarily. I think it's about just making sure that people know what you've done and that, reminding them of your accomplishments, because I think so often we like to just fly under the radar a little bit and as women. And I think we need to be able to toot our own horns. I mean, guys don't seem to have as much of an issue with it. They seem to certainly give themselves pats on the back. I think it's for whatever reason, it's just a harder thing for us.
We have enough inequalities as it is. As women of color, we already have enough injustices and inequalities and numerous opportunities to be forced to prove ourselves. And receiving equal pay for our work, our time, and our contributions is the least that we deserve. We should be able to, as women, support our families equally as men.
The recent Accenture survey said that for the first time, women at least are asking for raises at rates equal to men. And so at least asking is the beginning of a negotiation. It isn't sort of the end of it, but it is a beginning. We know that we need to do more to ensure that women are equally valuing ourselves. And we need to change the social norms and cultures within employers so that women are equally valued. We need to do both of those together. But part of getting there is highlighting really where the gaps still exist, and certainly in this country, and also likely in other countries as well. This is a big one.
I think this is our moment. And I think your generation is the generation that changes this. So think about what you would do if you weren't afraid. Think about leading, because when you lead, you get to change things. And I am really excited to see the kind of world this amazing group of women can build.
Go ahead, ask for more. Ask for more. More, please. Please, sir, may I have some more?
Okay, so that is the Levo League. And if you don't know about Levo League, go and check them out. They're a great organization. I've actually spoken for the group. And sorry, let me go back here. If you don't know about Levo League, please do check them out. It's levo.com or .org. I can't believe I don't remember that, but check it out. Check out Levo and it'll come up. They're a great organization, and for me, it's really about them supporting one another, women supporting women. I have spoken for their organization back in Denver as well as in New York, and I'm a big proponent of them. So if you can, please do check them out and support them as well. But let's get back to the session. How do I get back? Here we go. Not done yet. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. So as Diana Brady said she was the journalist wearing the black shirt in the interview. She goes, "It's your responsibility to remind your employer of what a gem they are getting." And that's the way I want you to think of it. You're supposed to negotiate. It's a pretty funny thing to be on both sides of the equation. I remember at one point I was, interviewing for people on my team, and it took every ounce that I had not to go reach across the table and say to this woman, "You need to ask for more. I want to pay you more, but you're not asking for it, and I cannot tell you that." And it's because you got to just make the ask. And I think in the video that there was the Asian woman who was a reporter, she mentioned the exact same thing. You know, they're going in low because they're expecting you to come in high, and then you'll meet in the middle. And that's the approach that you should be taking with your negotiations. But to do that, you got to have a success mindset. And so with that, I want you to start to embed confidence elements into your day. So I'm going to stop and show you a little bit right now. I want to show you this confidence body stance. Just really quick. Okay, I want to show you a confident body stance that is so critical and so important. Okay, so all you got to do, sorry about that. All you got to do is roll your shoulders back, because most of us, especially after a long day, are hunched over, right? We're tired and we don't want to go on. But when we're tired and we're hunched over like this, we're not projecting confidence. We're projecting the opposite of confidence, which is tired, exhausted, don't give me any more, right? And instead, you want to project confidence. So you want to have your shoulders back. What I do is I like to rotate my shoulders 3 times, 2, 3, keep them back there. And you don't want to be too restrictive, but you want to have them shoulders back. And the more important thing is you lift up your chest, and that you're looking forward. You're looking directly at the person and you're smiling politely. And that is the way that you show you're a confident person. And you see how much taller I look from just doing this than versus doing this? This is a confident body stance. Just by standing and sitting in this way. If you've ever seen Amy Cuddy and her work, her TED Talk on the power stances, the power stances are never like this. The power stances are standing confident with your chest up and out, right? That is going to make you feel confident, because what happens is when we get more oxygen into our bodies, we start to feel more confident, all right? When we stand taller, people treat us differently. You know, if you don't know anything about Matthew Hussey, Matt Hussey is a relationship coach, and I love his work. He does some amazing things. One of the things he talks about is core confidence, and you've got to have core confidence on the inside before people can make an assessment of you. You got to feel confident, because if you don't, people are not going to see that joy that you have inside. Right? You got to be the confident one, and you are the one who dictates the room. Okay? So Matthew brings up the core confidence concept, but I really like to think of it as that you need to take this everywhere that you go with yourself, right? You are the one that dictates the room. Okay? So with that, I'm going to show you some of the other techniques. So let's go back to the video, the screen share. And I'm going to really recommend that you keep a daily gratitude journal. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And also complete a nightly confidence exercise. So a confidence exercise can be anything. It can be a mantra that you say to yourself every night. It can be looking at yourself in the mirror and just smiling and connecting with your eyes and seeing yourself happy every day. It can be standing tall and confidently every single day. One thing I recommend to my clients, and if any of my clients are watching, this is something I do, but they'll see this as a familiar thing. I tell them every time you walk through a door or a doorway, okay, so that means doors, entry to a conference room, means when you get home, just roll your shoulders back and keep your shoulders lifted. Take that confident body stance I just showed you and smile. And I bet you just doing that over the course of the day and remembering to do that, having your chin lifted so you're standing, with your head up high, held up high, you're going to start entering every conversation, entering every room confident instead of exhausted and tired and kind of sad. Okay? So start doing that, and also start to complete those nightly confidence exercises. So with that, let's move on to the next step, which is that daily confidence journal. And I'm recommending that each day you write down at least one thing that you are grateful for in your life at that moment. A few months ago, actually, end of November, around Thanksgiving, I wrote a blog post for LinkedIn, and I remember in there I was talking. It was something about the blog post was some gratitude lessons I learned from watching the Golden Girls, and I think the idea was that it was really about being grateful for what we have in our life at this moment. And so some days it could be, deep and meaningful, like I'm grateful for my parents' health. But other days, and this was just around when the Dancing with the Stars last season was, and Carlton had just won. And I remember, I remember I'm grateful that Carlton won Dancing with the Stars. And that was it. I mean, there's some funny things, but the idea is that you're injecting gratitude into every single day. All right, with that, let's move on to negotiation plan. You're going to want to start with a written offer in hand. Now, this is the most important thing I'm going to say here. Actually, no, it's not. It's one of the most important things. It's one of the 3 most important things I'm going to say on here. But you want to always start with a written offer. And I don't mean if they're going to say, oh, but they're going to send it to me tomorrow. Don't start negotiating until tomorrow, until you have it in hand. Now, if you get it in your email box and you can bring it up on your computer, okay, that's okay too. But a physical copy of it or a soft copy of the PDF file of it in your inbox is okay. Because you don't want to start negotiating and then they can start changing things. Okay, they're going to want to do that because it works to their advantage. Don't let them. Okay, very important. You always want to talk with the decision maker directly. Now, this is important because sometimes when and this is a story I'm going to tell about how after learning that painful lesson at Accenture years ago, I negotiated many times after that pay raises and pay increases as well as job offers. But I became pretty good at it because I started having a plan. I was like so angry that I didn't, I got gypped that first time. I was like, I'm never letting this happen again. And so I started to talk with the decision maker directly. And that's really important. You don't want to keep talking to the people who are not going to be able to make a decision. The other key part is that sometimes you're talking to a senior manager who's going to probably be your manager, but they don't have any sway over the exact amount of your salary, right? It's usually HR or usually the senior HR person or senior manager senior vice president. And so always try to go as a default directly talking about money directly with the HR people. Don't worry about talking to the manager that hired you, all that stuff, and because they're probably not going to be the ones to do it. I have a funny story is that, as I mentioned, I became a pretty good negotiator and I wasn't going to settle for things that were, were less than. And I was applying to a company for my first brand manager role. And I remember I had a couple offers. And so I was leveraging them. And that's another thing you want to do. You want to leverage your multiple offers. It's extremely important, right? Because that's how you know what your value is in the marketplace. These companies are telling you, okay? And so I would be leveraging both of these companies. And I remember I was negotiating and I was negotiating back and forth. And I wasn't going below, and you're going to talk about your walkaway number in a second, which is your BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And I wanted them at a certain rate, and I was not going to give up. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And finally, they said, what, we're going to need to take it to the vice president. And I said, fine. And I said, all right. I mean, I think they were trying to scare me a little bit, but I said, that's fine, because I knew what my value was, because I'd done all this work. I'd done the football field analysis. I had done all the research, and I knew what I was worth. And so, and I wouldn't back down. And so finally they recanted and we came to a good, reasonable agreement. And then about two to 3 months after I started, but no, maybe it was probably less than about a month. I'm in my manager's office, and we're sitting there with a whole bunch of other people in the office, and the senior vice president kind of ducks his head in, and he was talking to the senior manager, and the senior manager introduces all of us. And the senior manager, senior vice president, he looks at all the people, and then he looks at me and he goes, I remember you. And I had never met him. And he goes, you're the one who really got us on the negotiations. You were a good negotiator. And that's what he remembers of me, right? So think about your impression, your brand, right? There's worse things to be called than a good negotiator, especially in brand, right? And there I was, standing out to the senior vice president simply because of my negotiation skills. So it kind of comes full circle. You have the opportunity, even in my past, even though I never negotiated and I had to learn the hard way, I had to struggle. There are ways, you figure out what's right for you. Sometimes you don't want to negotiate, right? Sometimes, if you're really content and you don't want to shake the boat and you really don't want to shake, I would recommend you think about if you want to stay there, right? Think about if that's right for you. And if it's right and it's right with your lifestyle and you decide you don't want to leave and you decide you don't want more money, then you know what? Then that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be, I'm saying, negotiate and fight for you. And I'm really pushing that today. But if you're content and happy where you are, I don't want you to judge yourself. Okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. This is not a judgment thing. I want you to get what you want from your career. And that's why I'm recommending this. But if you're okay and you're happy, then be happy. So let's know your BATNA number, your walkaway number. Now, we talked about that football field analysis to understand that number that you really want, that you're worth to go into. Your BATNA number is, say, the number that, they can't go below. If they go below that number, you're pretty much going to walk away. So suppose you were making, you want to be an associate brand manager and your ideal number is, say, 100. And they're coming in and your BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. This is your walkaway number. The lowest number that you're going to go to is 95. And they come in at 90. And you gotta negotiate with them and get them up to at least 95. But if you don't, then you can agree that this is probably not going to work out for us. If you go back and forth and back and forth, that's what happened with me with the company I was talking about, because we were going back and forth, and they weren't at my BATNA yet, and I was like, it's not going to happen. And they knew where I was up against. I had the other offers, and having other offers really helps because you have legitimate. They know you're being courted. That's something that you want to do, and you don't want to lie about it because they know, people know people and they know who they're looking after. So you never want to be able to say, this company's offering me this and this company's offering me this and this, if you don't have it actually, okay? Be honest and be truthful. But with that said, cultivate as many offers as possible because you want to have that in your back pocket. Okay, so let's keep moving. So you want to know your BATNA. You want to, based on your prep work, figure out your walkaway amount and what you'd be willing to take. What you'd be willing to not take, okay? So know that number. Okay, and this final video is from Sarah Silverman. And I'm going to be sharing it with you because I think Sarah Silverman, and I think she's going to be a great person to have. So I'm going to take it back to here. Whoops. And by the way, this is my Facebook page. So please come here and like my page, please. Because I give a lot of good stuff on here. Yes, I was talking about equal pay day, but you can see there's a lot of other good stuff that we have on here about mindset coaching and women empowerment and just a lot of other. I know there's a lot of promotion for this last webinar, but what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of goodness that we put on our site, and I know that this page, today we've been really focused on this webinar, but I really want you to get as much as you possibly can from it. And if you like our page, you'll get all of our information. But let's go to YouTube. And let's go to
doing stand-up, just around the town, and I did a show. I was out with my friend Todd Barry, and we were doing sets around town together. And, I was pretty well known already, and we both did back-to-back 15-minute sets at this club, the New York Comedy Club. And he paid me $10, and it was a Saturday night. I didn't think anything of it, And we were outside talking, and Todd somehow brought up that he, mentioned that he got $60. He just got $60, and I just got $10. We did the exact same time, back to back, on the same show. And so I went back inside, and I asked the owner, Al Martin, and I said, Al, why did you pay me $10 and you gave Todd Barry $60? And he, it was so perfect. He goes, oh, did you want a $60 spot? It was symbolic. I didn't need $60. I mean, but it's, it's pretty shitty. I think the best person for the job should get jobs. I'm all for women having to work harder to prove themselves at this juncture, if that's the way it is in the world. But if you work a job and a man is working the same job, you should be getting paid the same. There's lots of variables, like, how long you've been there or this or that. And I don't think anyone's asking for something that's more than fair. If I tweet about anything women's rights related, equal pay or healthcare or anything like that, it's that gets the most violent hate tweets back. So odd. It's just bizarre. That and gun control tweets. Just it creates such a rage in certain people, and of course that comes from fear. And when you guys were talking about asking for more, it made me think about basketball. I've always played basketball, but I've been playing with mostly men, and when you do that, you tend to, every basket you miss is like missing 100 baskets, and that comes from inside. The guys I'm playing with aren't going, oh man, they're thinking about their own shots. They're thinking about, and I realized that, and you put so much pressure on yourself, and you take it all so seriously. I mean, I love playing really hard, but I also love talking shit and joking around. And I realized you can't take a shot and miss and feel like it means you've missed 100 shots and that you're burdening your team or something. The guys shoot and miss all the time, most of the time, and they get better. And I'm old now, and since I've realized that it's come from inside me, how you think, what you think you deserve. My therapist said, and I think about it all the time, we don't get what we want, we get what we think we deserve. And I think as women, as a whole, if we can understand what we deserve, and not just in I'm a diva, no. We deserve quality lives with equality and maybe control over our own human bodies without the government getting involved, to do whatever we get great at and do. And it has to come from inside, and understanding that you deserve it and working to deserve it. I can't ask for like salt from a waitress going like, I'm sorry. But there's something with just being able to ask for what you want politely, respectfully. We get this way about love, All
right, I'm going to stop it there just because I know she's going to go on for a little bit longer. But the idea is that, excuse me. There we go. But the idea is what you're hearing a lot of what she's talking about, right? So if even Sarah Silverman is having some issues with negotiation, she's not getting what she's worth. you know it's a bigger issue. She had to go ask for it. That's the whole reason I put that clip in there, right? She had to go back in there and say, hey, I'm not getting the same thing, right? The same thing happened to me back in Accenture, right? The same thing happened to a lot of the women, right? We're not asking for what we're worth. So don't do that. Command and start to learn and work and go after what you're worth because you're worth it. All right. With that, I am going to just end today's session because there's no questions that have come through, and want to say thank you so much. And please, 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 if you enjoyed today's session, if you learned something from today's session, please share it. Please let people go to binakavalam.com. Or it's actually right there. That's over here, somewhere over here. There it is, over here. There you go. Oh my gosh. It's been a long day. So I wish you all the best, and thanks a lot.